Okay, as far as taking out the glove box to get access to the evaporator core, I have everything kind of loosely installed here, but this plastic trim piece on the side, that needs to pop out. And you can see on the back side just some simple friction fittings there. So pull that out of the way. And then this trim above the glove box comes out. Be careful of that so you don't break it. Pretty easy. Glove box comes out. Tip of my finger here, just press on the glove box, and then that will slide past. Same thing on this side, squeeze it inward. I'll say too, there's maybe before you even do that, this is like a friction damper. Just take a pair of pliers, squeeze that, and then this comes right off that peg right there. So undo that, and then take your hands on both sides of the glove box, squeeze it inward, and then the glove box drops down and it pulls right out very easily. Okay, once you get the glove box removed, you have to undo a few screws here. So there's 1, 2, 3, there is 4, 5, 6, and 7. I believe that's all of them. Yep. And then here's for the electrical harness to retain it to this housing, but just take you just gotta shove that through. So you can take a pair of pliers, whatever you got, squeeze it, and then shove it through. These are not real critical. There's another one too. What might not be immediately apparent is this LED light right here for the glove box. So this simply just pops away, flops down, undo this electrical connector, pull that out, and then at that point, then this plastic surround comes right out. Okay, so once you get that, you get the glove box out of the way, you get the trim piece removed from here, the plastic trim on this side, pull that out of the way. Then you're gonna be greeted with this. This is fairly easy to remove, to be honest. So, I'll try to go through the steps here. I'm in the process of reassembly here. So these two electrical connectors, undo these, and, pull it, tuck it up away, out of your way. Undo these two electrical connectors. This relay box right here, there's a tab here and a tab there in metal brackets. You undo those two tabs, and then the whole relay box slides out and away. Once you do that, then you're going to remove this control box right here. I haven't looked into what the functionality of this is. I don't think this is not the PCM for the engine. I don't believe it is anyway. Maybe it's a body control module. So anyway, on this control unit, there's 4 electrical connectors. So undo those, they're all in a line. Obviously much more visible once this relay box is out of the way. Then you undo a 10mm nut. And I'm way out of focus here, but tip of my screwdriver, you undo that nut. And this one right here. Then this ECU and the metal bracket just pulls right away. Let's see. Here's the blower motor. You're going to undo this blower motor connector. This relay right here, the holster for it, this beige or brown holster, slides up. Once you do that, then you can let it flop away. What might not be obvious to you, it wasn't to me, was this is a mode actuator for recirculating air or outside air. You have to undo this electrical connector and just undo that. Okay, and then after that, there are 4 nuts that hold the blower motor housing to the firewall. That's one. And let's see, there's 2. see it up there. There's 3. I'm pointing at it. Not as bad as what you think to get at it. And, well, it's hidden behind this bracket, but there's another one up there. Yeah, tucked behind this steel bracket, which, you know, you're going to remove that out of the way, and that nut or bolt up there will become very apparent. So once you undo that, the whole blower motor housing, it just kind of wiggles and comes right out. Take your hand, bend this steel bracket or bar towards the passenger side to make it easier, and the whole thing comes out fairly easily. Just be careful, try not to break anything. After that, you're going to want to undo, here's the blower motor resistor. You're going to want to undo that connector for it. And then this is the temperature sensor for the AC condenser. Undo that electrical connector. This has to be pulled away from the plastic housing here, the plastic box. It's a little fragile behind it, so just be careful doing that. And then that can flop. You know, tuck it away there out of your way. But overall, not too bad. I'm really impressed at how serviceable this evaporator core is. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've been there before, and, you know, it's largely with American vehicles, but, you know, the whole dash has to come out, the steering column, the center console, the heater, you know, the heater core has to be undone. I'm really impressed at how serviceable this is. So this was not a bad job at all. This is the blower motor housing pulled out from the vehicle. It comes out fairly easily, not too bad. This bar right here, this I actually bent with my hand out of the way. And then once you put that blower motor housing back into place, you can easily tweak that back into place with your hand. But you bend that out of the way to clear that motor actuator. It pretty much moves this large flap here for recirculating air or for outside air. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Very easy to come out. It's a little tricky getting access to the bolts, but as long as you have the right sockets for it. I use 1/4-inch drive stuff because it's pretty tight to get access to this, but, you know, only 4 10mm nuts or bolts that hold it in place. So undo those and the whole thing comes out fairly easily. You're gonna have to undo a lot of electrical connectors, but not too bad a job though. Okay, as you can see, got everything torn apart here. There is the evaporator core that covered with that piece of foam there. You can see at the bottom it's saturated with oil and UV dye. So without a doubt, that was the culprit. And then obviously you can see here's the drain hose. Drain hose from there to underneath the body of the car. So at least on this vehicle, I crawled underneath, had a UV light, and I could see in the condensation dripping out of this line, you could see the UV dye in the water. So, but overall, not too terrible. Let me start taking this thing apart and putting it back together and go from there. Okay, so here we are in the engine compartment. You're definitely going to want to remove these 2 lines here from the expansion valve. The expansion valve is removed. That's where it would sit in that cavity there. So undo that one 10mm head bolt. Both those lines pull away from it. You have to have a AC O-ring kit on hand for this vehicle. Make sure you're replacing all the O-rings. So once you undo that, you can see here, there's those 2 lines from the interior. This AC expansion valve pulls out. I'm sorry, it actually goes like this, so it pulls out. Also too, these 2 lines right here, these go into the evaporator core. They're 2 socket cap bolts. They take a 4mm Allen bit. So undo that and the whole thing. So and then this expansion valve drops out, and then you can grab the evaporator core and slide that out. The evaporator core was the cavity of it was just filled with oil and UV dye and a few leaves that snuck past the cabin air filter. So I sprayed some brake cleaner in there and a rag and cleaned that out really well. Took compressed air, cleaned it out. Also blew compressed air down this condensation tube to make sure there was no obstruction there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, oh yeah, and then also, this is a temperature sensor that's stuck into the evaporator core fins. So as you slide out the evaporator core, this temp sensor will reveal itself. So just be careful of the sensor and the wiring so you don't have any trouble. Also too, I just realized on this aftermarket evaporator core, I got this from AutoZone. I forget what brand it is. I think it's Four Seasons. The temp sensor, the fins are actually spaced differently than they are on the original Subaru condenser. So putting this temp sensor back in, well, this doesn't exactly line up with the spacing of these the tubing in this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this little locating piece right here, because the temp sensor is right here on the left. This is just a little plastic blade to keep it located. So I think I'm going to snip that and then just press that temp sensor in the fins. That should stay just fine. All right, got the AC evaporator core in there in place. I wanted to point out, let's see, oh, I have it upside down. Okay, so when you take this apart, you're going to come across this housing right here. You can see at the tip of my thumbs the blower motor resistor. Taking it out, I want to point out there is kind of a hidden, at the tip of my finger here, that screw there is kind of hidden. So use your mirror to see that. And that's pretty much it. Well, no, and then at the tip of my finger here was a metal clip. So get like a 90-degree pick or something in there to pop that metal clip. It just kind of grabs onto this and grabs onto the AC heater box and pinches it together. So just be aware of those two. And otherwise, the other fittings are very, very obvious. So there's 1, 2, 3 screws here that you're going to see immediately.